my name is Cronja Hultin. I'm the Managing Director of Whispr Group North America. And today I'll be talking about how to empower decision-making by transforming data into actionable insights. But first, I'd like to give you a quick introduction of Whispr Group. Whispr Group is an AI-powered insights partner. We have offices in New York, Oslo, and Stockholm. And we also cover up to 55 markets with the help of market analysts. These market analysts help us translate cultural and language differences so that we can work with global companies and cover multiple markets. Our whole vision is to make these companies smarter by making decisions based on data. So what we do is we empower decision making through our insights reports. These reports are answering key questions and then essentially helping companies optimize revenue and reduce risk. Now, when it comes to informing decisions around launching or growing in a market, there are two key areas that is important to understand: the demand and the supply. In Whispr Group language, we describe this as the audience and the competition. With the help of various methodologies and sources, we compile market research to help inform launch and growth decisions that cover both the audience and the competition. We use multiple research methodologies and sources, and we will review secondary research, interviews, surveys, focus groups, web scraping, online search, SEO and SEM, social listening, e-commerce websites and app data, content and digital assets performance, and finally, internal sales and user data. Let's start with secondary research or desktop research. And this basically means to use what already exists. There's no reason to invent the wheel here. So any data and research that has been published in research reports or similar documents, you should be able to access online or through different publications. And this will help inform some of the questions you have about the market. The second most common research methodology includes asking the audience specific questions, whether it is through interviews, focus groups, or surveys. And this can be really helpful to understand both the audience and the competition, and more importantly, how the audience feel about the competition. So to give you a few examples of how this can look like, this is just an example taken from a software solution that launched in a new market. We did a survey to find out a little bit more about the audience by asking questions such as, what attributes have the highest impact on this decision when buying the software solution? You'll see here how the different options were ranked, and price was listed as one of the 3 most important attributes when the key decision makers were selecting suppliers. We also then look at what the competition looks like, so asking questions such as which competitive brands are you aware of, but also what is your company's relationship to these suppliers. And here you'll get a better understanding of if they're currently a customer, if they're a former customer, if they plan on becoming a customer, if they don't have a relationship, if they're not even aware of the company, etc. To show sort of what white space opportunities there are. Also asking questions such as what issues are you experiencing with your current software, service, or solution give us a little bit of an understanding of the competitive disadvantages or advantages. And 36% here responded that the current suppliers' prices are too high. So knowing that price is such an important factor, that also shows a white space opportunity of launching your service with a lower price point. Moving on to the next research methodology and source, we'll talk a little bit about web scraping. So web scraping is the method of extracting content and data from a website. Now, scraping a regular website might not be super informative or insightful, but if you apply it to an e-commerce site that has multiple variables, multiple companies, and multiple data sets, you can find out a lot of different information. This is an example of data pulled from scraping an e-commerce site and then presenting it to present or show the average price point across multiple companies and product categories. So this is fully white labeled. So if you are in the business of launching cookware, refrigerators, or air fryers, please don't make any decisions based on this data. But we're showing here just an example of how 3 different product categories with multiple competitors can be benchmarked to find out an average price point, but also what competitors have the highest price point and the lowest one, and how premium competitors are positioned against budget brands. In this example, the brand also exists in the market, and if you already exist in the market, you can also benchmark to see how you're positioned against your competition. So we can see here that the average price point for cookware is $160. Your own brand and another competitor are higher than that, and multiple brands are lower. This data is extracted based on 600 different products across one e-commerce site. What you can then do is also look at how these different competitors are collecting reviews online. And the number of reviews can help inform how popular the competitor is, and also it gives an indication on sales. We know that a small percentage of every sale leave a review, which also shows that the more reviews you have, the more likely you are to also have higher sales. So we can identify the key competitors, how many reviews they have, and also if you have already launched, where you are positioned in comparison to these competitors. Now that you've collected the reviews and know the amount of reviews on these, as well as the total number of SKUs and the average reviews per SKU, we can also look at the average rating of these reviews. And we can look at it on a competitor level or on a competitor product level. So if you want to know what products are most popular, we can collect and scrape the rating as well as the number of reviews. And if you then want to understand why these are the top performers and why they're rating so highly, we can pull all the reviews and do a semantic analysis to understand what people are saying about your brand and all the competitors, and what is driving the positivity, neutral, or negative feedback. By also categorizing these reviews and the sentiment on different topics. So here you can see for one competitor or all the competitors, how people are reviewing and mentioning their performance, design, quality, ease of use, settings, price, and what is driving negativity versus positive feedback. Moving on to online search, SEO, and SEM. The first thing a consumer decision maker, regardless of who your audience is, the first thing that they're going to do is probably Google. You Google when you are at work, you Google when you're off work. So regardless of your industry, how people search for your topic, for your brand, for your competitors, gives an indication of the overall interest over time. It also gives an indication of how people are looking at your product. So this first example shows how people have searched for multiple different categories and how they differ over time and in comparison to each other. So here we're looking at rugby, football, cricket, golf, and boxing in a market where we can see that football has the steepest growth. And there's also some seasonality that is connected to rugby search terms. If we then wanted to go into these categories and see, okay, so we have a few competitors that work within these sports, whether it's B2B or B2C, we can look at what the monthly search traffic for these companies look like and how much is coming through organic search, which is an indication of their search engine optimization, or their paid search, which is an indication of their search engine marketing. And as you can see here, it's clear that competitor 1 is killing it both on organic and paid search. Competitor 4, for instance, is driving some organic search but doesn't seem to have any paid traffic in place at all. So this will help you also see how competitive the market is to capitalize on search demand and search behavior. If you also want to see how the audience then is searching, you can look at what keywords they're using or how they're searching for your brand versus all the competitors to understand what context that these brands are searched for. Some of this traffic might come from searching for the competitor directly, and others might come from searching for the category that the competitor exists within. So here you'll see the search query combined with the traffic and the percentage share voice of traffic that the different keywords have. Another way of collecting data is by social listening, which means instead of asking your audience a question, you listen to what the audience already express online. By using a social listening tool, you gather conversations based on keywords. So you build a search query around the topic or the company or brand that you want to capture conversations around. Now this search query is going to include all the different ways of describing the topic or describing the brand name, including words to make sure they capture everything, but also excluding words so that you don't get anything that's irrelevant. Within these tools and with the help of AI, you can then categorize the different mentions and the different conversations into categories that would help you uncover interests, sentiment, attitudes, and opinions. So if we look at this conversation here, or this example, it reads, I'm looking through the new IKEA catalog. Can't wait to buy new curtains. What fabric to choose? Now, IKEA is the company, so that's a mention for the company. The product that is mentioned is the curtains. There's a purchase intent or an intent to buy, and there's a request for help. And the IKEA catalog is also sort of a marketing topic that is being covered. So this way of semantic analysis of different conversation will help you understand what people are saying online. So to give you some examples of this, we've looked at conversations around multiple topics. This example, and again, this is white labeled, so if you are in the interest of Mexican food or ethnic food, please don't make any decisions on this data. But here we see an overall ethnic food conversation of 22.3 million. Within that conversation, 1.5 million is about Mexican food and 41,000 mentions are about tacos. If you look at those conversations over time, from 2016 up to 2020, we can see that Mexican food and tacos are spiking in 2020. Now, this might be good and show a growth of an interest if you are to launch within this market, which will be a positive indication that, you're on the right track. And then looking deeper into this conversation, you might want to figure out, what different topics are people talking about as they are talking about tacos, and what is the sentiment of that. And here you can see that the top preference, or the thing that people care most about, is the taste, and it also has a pretty positive association. So there's not that much negative feedback when it comes to the taste. But going further down, we see that ingredients is not as big of a topic, but people are more negative towards the ingredients, and that shows an opportunity to launch a product with better sourced ingredients, or what else we can uncover that is feedback expressed. Then we might want to see within the tacos and Mexican food category, what are the different competitors and how much share of voice or how much visibility do they currently have, and what is the trend. So this shows the share of voice and volume of conversations over time, quarter by quarter, from 2019 to 2020. You can see here, for example, that the blue competitor has increased their share of voice a lot in the fourth quarter of 2020. Digging even deeper into this topic, we can see what people are talking about when they're talking about the different competitors, and how the competitors are viewed in a positive, neutral, and negative sense. So here we can see that competitor, let's say it's number 6, has much higher negative sentiment than the others. And then you might want to uncover, why. And for all of you that feel like this might not be relevant to you because you're not a B2C brand or you're not launching a Mexican food brand, then I also want to make the point that people talk about absolutely anything online. There are specific forums for anything. So just to give you an example, just looking at 1 year's of data, computer-aided manufacturing has been mentioned 38,025 times online. Now, I don't even know what computer-aided manufacturing is, so I can't tell you anything more about it. I'm just trying to make the point that even if you're in the B2B sector or have a very niched product, people or decision makers will still discuss with each other how to buy these different products or things to consider. And you will probably have a reputation regardless of who your audience is. Another point to just support this is that people also discuss different vendors online. So here you see 2 examples on forums where discussions are about buyers. So people that are working as buyers or work with vendors are expressing what they like or dislike about them, and that will be visible for other people as they Google and search for the company or the product online. Moving on to also what is possible with e-commerce websites and apps. There's a lot that you can do with e-commerce and websites and apps in order to follow your audience online journey. As most of you probably know, with your own data, you can see a lot of how people navigate on the website. But we were going to just give you an example of how you can also look at third-party data from an app perspective. So just to give you an example here, this graph over here shows the downloads of different app categories over the timeline from 2019 to May 2020. Now, this shows what happened with these apps after the COVID, or the launch of the lockdown, at least here in New York in mid-March. You'll see how workout apps grew with over 28% month over month, and you'll see how it spiked right in the middle of April. People also started downloading more mindfulness apps towards the beginning of May, and telemedicine actually had its peak right on the launch of the lockdown. Now, just for the interest of time, we're going to move on to just show a few more examples and then wrap this up. Another thing that you can also look into to better understand the audience and also understand what assets you can use to work with marketing as you launch in a market is to analyze content engagement and interactions, whether it is on digital assets that live on your website, but also when it comes to social media. And we're going to give you an example of how you can categorize that. So understanding content performance, what you can do is categorize the different posts and the different initiatives that you have done or that the competitors are doing in the market that you want to launch in, to see what type of initiatives and what type of format and what type of focus is working the best. So what we're looking at here is social media engagements across multiple platforms, across multiple competitors, and then dividing that into different initiatives. So the first graph with the green numbers show the social media engagement per post category, where we see that informative and inspiring content is generating the most engagement. And it is also what the competitors focus most on, so it has the highest share post. We can also look at the type of post type that is performing really well. So whether it's images, carousels, or videos, we can first see how much the competitive set is posting of each and which ones is generating the highest average engagement. So here we can see that images are most popular to post, but carousels are driving more engagement. And then you might also want to decide what to post about. And the example here is to post about either ambassadors or about the product. And here you can see that most of the competitors chose to post about the ambassadors, and ambassadors is also what drives most engagement, although product is very similar, but gets very little focus in the feed. Now, there's a lot more that you can do when it comes to analyzing content and digital assets, and also help inform marketing when launching in a new market. But unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of that. The last methodology that we had here is internal sales and user data. And I'm not going to go into this since you know this already. You know your own data better than we do. And it is definitely possible to overlay any internal sales and user data to existing data sets. Now, in order to capture all of these methods that we've gone through, the way that we work at Whispr Group is that we have a toolbox of about up to 50 different tools that cover these different areas. You'll see a few examples here that might spark some interest. And what we do in addition to working with these partners is that we have our own AI and tech on top of this toolbox that help us gather and combine these data sets into one feed. This tool that we have called Varies also helps us transform the data into visually appealing reports. We then add the human layer to transfer the data into storytelling and provide actionable insights. Lastly, the most common products that we work with is to either help you understand your own company footprint and reputation and perception, and that looks at how you're performing compared to the rest of the industry and competitors. The second report, which is also very common when launching something new, is to look at the industry trends and competitive landscape. And instead of looking at your own brand, you focus on the learnings that you can have from these competitors, but also the mistakes that you want to avoid. And then lastly, we also look at the audience, whether it is clients or consumers' preference and behavior, and better know how to reach them and what they want. That was all that I had to share with you today. Thank you so much for listening in. We would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions or if you want to continue the conversation, feel free to send an email at hello@whispergroup.com.